Okay, this is one of those times where I'm sitting back like, don't get angry. No, it's not. It's not worth the expenditure of the energy, you silly old man. You silly old man. Don't get angry because people don't remember all of these. That Donald Trump was not impeached twice. Donald Trump, they remember they started impeaching him within the first 3 months of his presidency. He had 6 impeachment filings, if I remember correctly. This was constantly an attack on his presidency. This is, well, I was listening, actually, I'll just say it. I was listening to PSA Sitch and Adam Friended, and it's just kind of like, okay, if you guys don't know what you're talking about, like, at least get informed on the subject. One of the things for people who have watched that, and like Aiden Paladin is somebody who I'm really hoping I can encourage to look into this. The senior executive service. Nobody gets that there's a management group that manages the departments of the government, and they don't answer to anyone. Nobody's getting this. And only because we had pro-Trump former government insiders that the Obama administration had pissed off and had pushed out of government, or were fucking with these people, that these people then told all the MAGA people there's this thing that exists, and no, you can't get a list of who's in it because it's under, for some reason, the Army. And it's this law, and you can look it up, and you can look up everything about it. It's not a secret, but this group kind of is. And no one will talk about it. There is no one who will talk about the senior executive service except for like people who are like me, who are way into the anti-war stuff. You know, the people who like figured out, oh, ISIS and the Free Syrian Army are the same people. Like, here's a picture of the guys in, they're just wearing different uniforms. You know, it's that kind of thing where, you know, for the PSA Sitch would need to see the man changing the uniform. And that's a chump. That is a chump. That is somebody who gets chumped out in life. He's got to do what he can, probably, to get along with others, because he knows there's somebody who will, that he knows there's people who chump him out, and a lot of men, because they have to be polite, this, that, and the other, and it's like and they'll be chumps, and they've gotten so used to being chumps. So many Americans are yellow-bellied and they're chumps that they can't sit there and be like, so Vindman just happened to hear all this important information that the president said. Who's this guy? Oh, he was appointed by the Pentagon to the White House. And he just happened to hear this because this would be incredibly important for the Pentagon. This would be in their interest, because then they would be able to prosecute this war in Ukraine, where Vindman and his brother, who's in the NSA, are from. There's just thing after thing after thing that you're just sitting there like, how aren't you all seeing what's going on? Then it hit me, no, nobody knows about the senior executive service. So they don't know that there's literally a union represented organization. The senior executive agency is their union. That are just privately, they're literally people being paid at private market salary for being an executive of a department that would affect an entire country. They're getting that level of money. Everyone knows this group exists because they've heard the story about somebody who is in it, most likely, and that would be Dr. Fauci. But nobody, and you can't get, no, who does he answer to? You can't get him to just stop doing things. Like, no, Dr. Fauci, no, this is over. Obviously you're not being forthcoming. We keep finding information that you say is inaccurate, or you have to change suddenly the fundamental definitions of things like viruses and vaccines and da 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 da. So now this really is a matter of, okay, now you all are going out of your way to just be chumps. A lot of people in America are just letting themselves get chumped out. And I think it really is that when the going gets tough, a lot of Americans become peasants and they just want to be ruled. They don't want to think. They want to be entertained. They want to be ruled. They can't be free. They aren't made of the stuff of freedom. They like liberties. They want to be back in the Roman Empire. And they want to get, like, a higher tier of sandal than the other peasant, or a better toga or whatever, they'll eat brioche, while the other people eat some more coarse bread, So, with the abortion thing, this is amazing now to see really how the argument David Carroll made me have to face, and that more and more black, like, kind of the sort of, not exactly anti-pro-blacks, but the people who keep pointing this out about pro-blacks and about, like, evolved and enlightened conscious blackness and stuff, is that it always is an emulation of kind of white hippies and white liberals. And it's weird because white liberals are loosely trying to emulate black people in a way. Like, I could be a poet, like I don't need to have no job, kind of thing. And yeah, it's a fascinating, but because they're both groups of people who like having fun. But at some point, of course, things need to be accomplished. And what's interesting is that the shit-lib, hippie, white liberal kind of worldview, like that part of the culture, it is sort of collapsed in its ability to be really kind of rational and get down to business. Unless unless it's going to get them quick money. It's, like weed or content creation, or holding a big electronica party, or like, I'm gonna start this niche business as in a storefront or something, but not like the idea of, you all had the opportunity for over 20 to 30 years in the Democratic Party to get both gay marriage and abortion written into a legal form that you could be passed by Congress, or enough states that reciprocity would have mattered, that you could have put this together intelligently. That everyone knew this, and I was there with the smart Democrats. Like, I was listening to their shows. Before there was progressives, there were people like me, and I'm listening to these people, and I'm like, yeah, we're not doing this right. All the Republicans need is to get a hold of the government for probably about 2 presidencies, and all this shit is over. We're not doing what it takes. We're not passing laws. We're not convincing people and passing law. You have to pass law. You have to convince people and pass law. That's what makes the republic work. A democracy doesn't, at that time I didn't quite understand the way, like, because I'm like, yeah, like, majority rule wouldn't really work. That's, like, literally, like, blacks and Native Americans wouldn't exist if this were a democracy. Let me just make that real easy to understand. So if people don't wonder why Richard Spencer supports Joe Biden, anyway, so I've been watching, because there's just so many things coming together at once. This confluence now that we're hitting, well, really we're in the storm, and we're hitting the far storm wall, or the far storm wall is hitting us. it looks like it's going to totally decimate the Democrats. It's going to mow down a lot of the old Republican structures. The new Republican and the new right structures are solid, and here's one of the main reasons why. And with the Mises Caucus taking over the Libertarian Party, this is a very interesting thing that's happened. It's almost as if a giant underground city has been built by normal people right of center because we had to, because we kept getting attacked. Anything we built would get attacked, so we had to come up with a complete underground structure. And this underground structure now is effective, and that's why people like Sitch and Adam Friended, when they look at the right and they look at the left, and they're like, oh, both sides do it, which of course is not true. These are two different personality types. This is really the thing that, there's no science behind both sides doesn't do it. There is nothing that you can, if you were to really do honest analysis of it both, no, that is not true. That is absolutely not true. And now you're seeing it, that people are talking about majority rule. The Democrats are discussing openly, well, but the majority rule, and we're obviously the majority because most women vote Democratic. They're everything about them is starting to expose itself now, and everything they really think. The Republicans, the whole thing is they're going by the rules of the Constitution, and it slows everything down. And that's the other big thing is people who want change fast. Let's apply that to all kinds of things. You're going at a certain speed in a car, and your speed and course change extremely quickly. Is this good or bad? You're digesting food. Suddenly, something inside of your guts changes very quickly. Is this good or bad? You want a process that you can count on, that actually has some kind of course and time, and you can look back and say, at what point did this all go wrong? See, that's the whole reason why we know the election was stolen, is because the course by which it should have gone suddenly accelerated at 3 in the morning. And everybody who was paying attention saw this. This is another thing that got me about the Sitch and Adam Friended thing. Everyone's acting like that stuff didn't happen. A lot of this was caught on video. That suddenly votes just showed up. Like suddenly. And the numbers you needed. And votes that, at the time, it was this thing of, Barr was basically making it clear. No, this is fair play when everybody's cheating. That's really what was going on. And it's just, there's just people who, they're just such lily-livered chumps. And maybe it's because of my background, my family's from Chicago, so the idea of people that there's always a reason, everybody's kind of on the take, and that worldview, and I've actually had to think about this with the libertarian thing again. People like me who are like, oh no, the Democrats are crooked as hell. No, they thrive on having kind of a crooked shanty town kind of place like Chicago, where as Grandpa Warland had said, Big Donovan said, everything in Chicago ran better on a $5 bill. What do you mean, Grandpa Donovan? Or a $5 bill and a rubber band. You take your driver's license, you take the 5, you fold the 5 nicely, put it on the rear of the driver's license, take the rubber band it to the driver's license. So anytime anything goes wrong, you might be out $5, but you're not going to have to get picked up the next day on bail. Save now. so you don't pay later. So that's the way that democratic places run. That is the way democratic places run. I grew up in kind of the circles, like low level circles of politics in San Francisco. Same thing. These were dirty bastards, and really normal, like people who were shockingly normal. When you really they were really not. They're not extraordinary. Like I finally had to really put some thoughts back together because somebody was talking about that, and it was like, no, these people are not that talented and amazing, honestly, and it's true, they're not. And so the some of them are, but it's like those are the people who they hire as lawyers, are the brilliant people who can't get elected. They're brilliant, but they can't get elected. These people are not so brilliant, but they can get elected. And they can get elected. So people like the libertarians and what the right has done really shows this is a very different mentality. There are no mass riots. There really aren't. I mean, it's as people could say whatever they want about January 6th. It's like, no, you're a chump. You're a chump. You obviously are going out of your way to look at what Democrats want you to look at. So what is the right saying? The good sources on the right have a long list of things that show none of this made sense. You know, where was the National Guard? Why did the Capitol Police let people in? Why did the Capitol Police not secure it more? When people were seeing stuff online about this, people all over Twitter were saying this is bait when the January 6th stuff was coming up ahead of time. You even have then people talking about Fed, look at this, they were being baited, to go into the Capitol. There's people who are handing out weapons, none of them have been identified nor interviewed. There's all these people who were helping it happen, and none of them have been identified or interviewed. I'm thinking if we were to identify and interview them, we'd be identifying and interviewing members of Patriot Front, who are people probably working for the Department of Homeland Security. My guess is that these are DHS, dummies from DHS, who are thinking, who they're in some kind of operation, and to make the right wing look bad. I was there when the right wing had its first, its big last blaze. That happened in the Clinton administration. And no, not Waco, the anthrax people. Look it up. Just look up the stories about anthrax during the Clinton administration. You'll find that there's these people, and eventually the government had to, say sorry. The government had to say sorry to these people, because these people were getting set up by the FBI. In Black America, the idea that the FBI will set you up is not abnormal. That this is just a thing that's understood about the way that the feds operate. I think it's just what we're dealing with is just a lot of millennial chumps. That millennial chumps aren't, they can't handle it. Because this would be too big. This would be too big of a thing to deal with. That something like where you have to excise the FBI. And it's like, no, you don't have to excise the FBI. What you have to do is excise the Senior Executive Service. It's a specific piece of legislation that you would have to excise. It doesn't even make sense anymore. Now with the way technology works, with the way that you could contract people, this doesn't make sense that we still have, that we're doing and the big deal about it is Senior Executive Service. This was about, on average, and somewhere around 2,000 people overseeing, I think 1 million or more government workers. Barack Obama got 7,000, something crazy, some totally insane number of people he added to the Senior Executive Service. So what he was doing, and every parallel to this is the Third Reich. Every single parallel to something like this is like the Third Reich. Everything the Democrats are doing, when you have to look at the Spain, Italy, and Germany. That's what you have to look at, because the model is there, there's wealthy people. This is the part that somebody Sitch and a lot of people who are anti-Trump, they can't understand. This part they won't understand. There is a level of power and accomplishment in this world, and they are going along with Trump. The successful of the Ummah are on Trump's side. This is why Biden is having the problems he's having with OPEC. Is that this is an international thing, and now I'm just saying it. There was an early period of Russian propaganda during the Manosphere days, during the early MRA Manosphere, and wait a minute, with Big Red, blah 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 blah. During that time, that's when the Russians were propagandizing, and it was the Eurasianists, it was the Duganists, but even more than that, there were a lot of these people that were very, very smart, and all they did was talk about things that were totally factually correct, that were just terrible choices that our intelligence services made, terrible ideas that they've taken on. Then people who were in the United States citizens that knew a lot about this, started being like, yeah, and more than that. And that's why now people know about the Galen Network, Gehlen. If you don't know, stop the video. Gehlen Network, Reinhard Galen. That's it. That's what the Pentagon is. It's not something else. If you were to say, but you see, sometimes a person founds an organization is a major part of it being constructed, but it totally changes, because I'm a chump. I gotta believe things like this. Or I'm in a much scarier world, and then I'm gonna have to be a fucking man and willing to fuck people up for being bad. I'll have to have manly virtue then. If there's really evil. If there isn't evil, if I could make up anything, if I could take anything anybody says that's totally unproven on the side of the shit libs and be like, but Trump's so dumb, he obviously said this, a shit lib said it and it was on TV and everyone believes a TV man. I'm not a chump. I don't have to have manly virtue. I don't have to really admit, well, you guys constantly lie to your own side and me, but, I mean, how bad? I don't want to stand up for anything. And it's not going to work. The Russians have their interests. Trump recognizes their interests. There is something, I think, very interesting about him and Nord Stream that I have not figured out exactly what it was about Nord Stream that he had such an issue with. I kind of wonder if it's that this would make it harder for Israel to get into the energy game with what they seized from Syria. But I'm not really certain. And then also Trump he was listening to Kushner when it came to energy, because Kushner's involved in energy with Dick Cheney. Democrats and Republicans together at last in the boardroom in Israel, in Haifa. And so I've been watching just a lot of this stuff, this confluence of events, and it's amazing. It's so much I could barely even think through. I'm just dropping the articles onto Twitter, dropping them into the Discord, just like, what is happening? This is crazy. But I keep tuning into PSA Sitch and Adam Friended. I'll be drawn in by whatever their title is, and I'm just like, no. What? Why are you believing this, what obviously looks like a Soviet show trial written by Disney? How are you not seeing this? But then I just figure, I'm like, no, there's this issue of American men embracing cowardice. And just getting this idea, no, that obviously Trump did a great job. But obviously this didn't really happen the way they said it did, and that there's something else going on. Another part of this was the background of Peter Strzok. What did Peter Strzok work for? Somehow he was an intelligence liaison to the FBI, or an FBI liaison with intelligence to the intelligence agencies or something. So he's intel and FBI. So he's dealing with stuff that's, kind of two powerful things, two powers that you're not really supposed to put together. And he loathed the president. Oh, and that it's completely coincidence that there was like a small group of these people all working on something around Donald Trump, around this dossier that journalists were saying now. They said it then they shut the fuck up. I saw it. I was on Twitter. I saw journalists say, this got shopped around to me. Bunch of people got back to her, and that was the last time anybody said the Steele dossier was getting shopped around to journalists, because people were figuring it out. They're like, oh shit, I'm not touching this with a fucking with a barge pole. That one you can't know unless you were there watching it. And so the beauty of something like this is, I just want to point out to a lot of people that you're buying January 6th, you're kind of yellow-bellied, you're kind of being a little cowardly about this, you want things to go back to normal. The new normal will be people like Greta Thunberg, us all dancing to her Thunberg, which is somebody else who writes her scripts, and listening to poorly informed women who've come out of diploma mills saying what some public intellectual calls science. It says on the box the masks aren't antiviral. When you take classes in first aid, they tell you the masks are not antiviral. They can't help against viruses because of the size of viruses. Still, I still sit back, and because I'm someplace where there's a special kind of shit-lived stupid that people are still wearing these fucking things like idiots and making people wear them. But it's because people are just cowards, poorly informed cowards who would rather watch Netflix. And but the thing is, and didn't I say it? We're gonna take more. You've given the right of center no choice but to win. That's it. The left doesn't get this in a big way. They've given the right no choice but total victory. And what that will mean is a republic, if we can keep it. And people will say, there's people who will never go to their neighboring state, and that's fine. That's Taoism. Anybody who knows the line in Taoism, in the Tao Te Ching, and they'll never leave their state for a neighboring state. They'll hear the clucking, the barking of the dogs, and the clucking of the chickens of their neighboring state, but they will never leave where they're from. This isn't a curse. This is what Lao Tzu thought when people were truly content with their own lives. When they truly had fulfilled lives, they wouldn't have to travel around and then want to transform America into the tourist trap that Europe became. Look, we are so French. Look, we eat some food. Oh, it's so peaceful. It's so great. Free trains. Oh, did you hurt your knee? We take care of it. No, Band-Aid is free in France. Oh. Yeah, and so is the rape. So's the fucking stomp outs, the rapes, the robberies, the riots. Yes, you see, you are here, you cannot disagree with the government, but we give you things, you see. You are our hoes, as you say in America, yes, right. You like the hoes in many area codes. We have hoes all over Europe. Belgium is the pimp, and we are all the hoes. But, so, um, and yeah, I'm thoroughly actually kind of enjoying seeing the reaction. It's always about the reaction. That's another thing that actually you can't know. Chumps can't know that one. How was the reaction? 6 impeachments. It was something like 5 or 6 impeachments, but I'm pretty sure it's 6 impeachment filings. Note that people remember 2. People who say they're paying attention remember 2. The Democrats never mention the other 4. That's the reaction. They're like, yeah, those are the 4. Oh, are you scratching your neck and looking like a bitch? What? No, I'm a Democrat big man. Oh, you can't fucks with this. Damn, Amos, they done took all that BLM money. We ain't bitches, Andy. All those people that act blue with all those fascinating European names, they done took our money, Amos. Well, Andy, you see it's not so bad because then they could help Israel. I figures that's where the money's going. Suckers and lames. And the best part, you see, I could do this because I got that libertarian nationalist kind of thing where it's like, I love watching because I was one of the suckers and lames once. I was one of these people once. I was once I think I might still be a Democrat on paper. I don't give a fuck about changing the, no. I get my thing. I'm like Republican, this Republican, that Republican. Look this person up. Okay. Oh no, you're better. The libertarians have also changed a lot of things because they caused the right to have to actually analyze what kind of outcomes they want, and the right has chosen the Republic. The right didn't choose what the alternative right wanted. They did not choose Mike Enoch and Richard Spencer. Those guys, I don't even know if Mike Enoch still exists. I don't know if he's even alive. That end of it is, I mean, where's Murdoch? Isn't that what his name was? Murdoch. And it was funny. It was fun. It was funny. But I mean, now where the right's at, podcast of the Lotus Eaters. That's where most of them are at. The kind of sentiments that are said there. Smart, well read. People don't want to believe it because they want. But I watched like Kenobi and The Mandalorian while other people were reading books and things, and no. You got to do your reps and sets because this is war, and I know that's a part of it. I think about that. Yeah. All I could bequeath you is war, unless you fight now. Unless a lot of you gentlemen, unless a lot of you young men, you fight now for the Republic, you will have this thing called a war, and that's democracy. Because number 51 decides that number 49 will also hang with the other 48. That's what majority rule is. Majority rule is the Klan lynching somebody, and the dissenter is being lynched. That's why the Democrats were in. That's why the Klan and the Democrats were associated with one another. These are people who their personality tends toward totalitarianism. The problem that the right has is we're individualists, so you could barely even get us into collective groups that identify with one another. But it's very difficult to convince those types of people to follow totalitarians. And that's why anybody who wants to say that about Donald Trump, it's like, no, I'm sorry, you're demented. You're mentally ill. You immediately know somebody's got a personality issue, or they're mentally ill, or they're fundamentally dishonest if they try to say that Donald Trump was totalitarian in some way. That's immediately you're like, okay, something's way wrong with you. It's just a matter of figuring it out, asking enough questions to figure out exactly how much of a fuck up or loser or weirdo you are, or if you're just really just like totally dishonest, and that the whole point of this is even more nefarious, conversating about it. So, yeah, there we go. I haven't been making as many videos, so you can see I've been thinking about a lot of stuff. I've got to start writing a lot of this stuff out. That's also been a big part of this, is I got this device and been trying to make sure to set aside time to do a little writing. I've not been as successful as I was hoping, but I just got to keep practicing. Because one of you told me, "Where's the book? Here's the money. Where's the book?" So I gotta get on that. All right. Something actually I want to show you guys always, because this is really cool, and it's something I got years and years and years ago, back when I thought I was going to become a Buddhist monk or something. Oh my gosh, why is my space so crappy? No. There we go. Okay, there we are. The 100 series, 100 Buddhas in Chinese Buddhism, is the Buddha one. There's others. There's others of these. They're probably very hard to come by now. But they're... Oh yeah, well, here, let me show you the type of drawings. Good. See, so then they'd have something like... Ooh, there we go. This is one that people might happen upon. Vajrapani. So it's a very unique style that this artist used. Yeah, here's Manjushri, his version of Manjushri. Manjul Buddha. And so, yeah, so I thought I would just show that, because it's a really, really great book. And a lot of the 100 series, 100 generals, 100 women, 100 heroes, I believe, something like that. It was, yeah, but they're really great books. But this, that's like 20-some years old maybe now. I got that probably when I was in my mid-20s. So, yeah, it's probably about 20 years old now. All right, later.